Hey gang, Kevin here, Life22, and we are here on a Wednesday morning. So there was a council meeting last night that apparently ran late. I did not get a chance to watch it. I was out at the polls. I was coordinating with the Olean Star on gathering up the results, the poll results, to so that we could figure out who won the mayoral primary for the Republicans. And then I stopped by both of the different campaign headquarters to talk with each candidate, and it was had a very interesting night. So those of you who haven't been paying attention or maybe didn't hear last night, it looks my prediction was off. So it looks like Amy Sherburne took the lead, and even with the number of outstanding absentee ballots and whatever, I don't believe it's enough to pull Bill out of the ahead for the Republican primary. So right now, how it currently stands is it looks like I believe Bill is on the conservative line. I believe. And then Amy will be on the Democrat and the Republican line, which are two major ones. So it's looking. Bill's still got a shot. He'll still be in the general. He's not going to have the strength of the Republican Party. A lot of people will pick their party and they pull the lever based on that. But we're a heavily Republican area, so what ends up happening is we would pull. A lot of people who just pull the lever for Republican, it'll just be down to are they pulling it for Bill or Amy? So then it's going to take a cognizant voter. So if you're voting for Amy, you're just going to pull whatever lever party you're for typically. If you're voting for Bill, you're going to have to go out of your way. And then there's just going to be a bunch of people that are like, oh, I'm going to pull the lever for this person. And then there are a few outliers, people that say, well, if the Republicans and Democrats have the same person, that can't be good, and then they feel like their party has betrayed them to a degree. So what ends up happening is they end up just pulling a lever for another party. So Bill will get that, but that's far and few between, more or less. But that's how I foresee November shaking out, and I believe from what I gathered yesterday that Bill also had the Lincoln line, which I'm not too certain what it's. I don't have to be certain on what it is. It's you can make up a party in like you have 3 years to actually establish it or whatever, and then it falls off the rolls. But you have to get NOPs, non-party affiliates, to vote for it, and it shows up as a line item on the ballot. So there are unique ways to get yourself on the ballot in November. All those deadlines have passed, so all this stuff was in the works. It was something that I'm sure Bill already had underway. And I believe, according to some of the newspaper articles and stuff I've seen online, I believe Amy also did something similar. So she'll be on Democrat, Republican, and then whatever additional party line, where Bill will be on like conservative and whatever party line that he's thrown into. Amy may have also gotten the working families. I don't believe they give you more than 4 lines. So if there are additional lines there, like Bill will be the only one who shows up on the Lincoln Party. But like if Amy had the working families, whatever additional line she had, the Republicans and the Democrats, and then let's say she got the conservative, for example, you can't be on 5 lines. That's always been a thing since I was there. They max you out at like 3 or 4, so you'll just get whatever like lines that you like. And I don't know if they let you pick like, hey, you've got 5 endorsements, like which one are we dropping or which 2 are we dropping? I've never been in a situation like that. I've come close. I was endorsed by. Yeah, so it must be 4 lines, because I when I was running for alderman my second term, I beat out a gentleman on the Democratic Party. I already got endorsed by the Dems, and then he decided to run, and they couldn't stop him from running. So they said, hey, we've already cross-endorsed Kevin. We're just going to let you two duke it out in a primary. And I beat him on his own primary line. So I was Republican, Democrat, conservative, and independence party. not independent, independence, which used to be a thing prior to like 2 governmental or gubernatorial races ago. I believe they got knocked out because of the Libertarian Party, and then after that, the Libertarian Party got knocked out by some other generic party, and that's how they base whatever parties are the major parties. They have like major and minor parties, and then they have like, you know, you just create your own, and they're not going to show up on any major races unless you get enough signatures for them. So it's a little bit of a complicated process, but so what we're going to end up doing is. Sorry, I had a visitor in my studio. But anyways, we are. So after watching last night's race, I think they're still going to go to the general, based on what my gathering is. I know obviously Team Amy was very excited. Team Bill seemed to have a lot of fight still left in them. It's one of those things. It's going to come down to November. I was going to say if you were to put lines or if you were to put points on it, like as if it was like it was a betting thing, I would say that it would lean heavy to Amy to take the November race, but Bill still has a shot. So it's not as exciting as I thought it was going to be going into November, because this is like, it's like, oh man, this is like, your favorite men's basketball team going up against like the best women's basketball team. Like the odds are in favor of, obviously the men's basketball team over the women's. But it's probably not going to be as drastic of a shootout, but you never know. So it'll still be interesting to watch. It's not going to be as interesting. Let's see. That said, there's still a lot of misconceptions online about, we need change, this and that. I think at the local level, like whatever candidate takes over, I think you're grasping at straws on which one would be the stronger candidate. There's the camera. Okay, the stronger candidate. I think that you're going to have 2 different candidates. I think you have one that's been there a hot minute, is experienced, knows city government. I think that the other one is new, probably brings some fresh ideas, but it's one of those, like, I don't think that they're going to see the change that they're looking for. The general public is, we need Amy for change, right? Well, okay, Joe Public, but the problem is that your hands, like I've said yesterday, your hands are tied. Like there's a lot of stuff that you can't do there's a lot of stuff you can't do with cities, because it's already, like, the law is already preempted by the state, and if they're not preempted by the state, they're preempted by the federal government, and there's just a lot of different things that they won't allow you to do. And I think that a lot of people think that they can do whatever they want, like, oh, we're going to do this. It's like, okay, well, guess what, boom, you just ran into a union issue. Okay, and the unions are stronger than the damn state, so like then that's what happens, is every few years, like, we get all these big pro-union pushes. We get these big pro-union pushes, and then like the state like divulges power to the unions, and then everyone's like, oh, why can't the state keep the unions under control? It's like, well, because you just keep giving them all the power, and now they're the same level of strength as the state, and it's like, oh, hey, it's like the courts can't overrule the union, because guess what? Now the union has more power than the courts. Like, and that's the way it's going, and it's depressing, because it's like we the people give all of our power to the government. You know what I mean? Like, at which point we should be able to take it away at any point, and I don't think people realize that, because we are where the government pulls its power from. But then, like, what we do is, like, there's certain factions of the Democratic Party, for example, that like subjugate our power. We give the government to unions, and then what happens is in the court system, like, the unions are considered like a higher entity, which is kind of depressing, and it shouldn't be that way, but it ends up being that way. But there's little things like that. It's like, okay, well, we're trying to do a union issue. It's like, okay, well, If the union sues you, they could bankrupt a city because, I mean, it's gotten pretty close in the past with us. It has happened to other municipalities. You just get down to something, you're like, well, this is how we want to change it. It's like, well, you didn't get permission from the union. So, oh, we'll fight them in court. Okay, well, they've got like 18 times our city budget in just like the local coffers union, like the local union's coffers to cover a lawsuit like that. They can tap into state and national coffers to essentially annihilate the city of Olean just to prove a point too. Like they, like, hey, we own you. Like there's a lot of that out there. I've never been a big fan of it, but it does exist. So like that's something you would run into as as a new mayor and not knowing what you're doing. Like, oh, I want to. You come in like Elon. I want to know what your job is. Like, okay, well, guess what? That's a union grievance, and now the union's gonna sue you. And that's a whole thing. And it happened a couple mayors ago that they tried to do that. They said, hey, I want to know what you do, when you work. I want to know what your title is and your job description and blah blah blah. And it was union grievance, and the city got sued. Like that's happened. Not during my tenure as an alderman. Not during my tenure as an employee for the city. Like I said, it was a couple mayors ago. So Bill's been there for 12 years. Which his terms supersede that. It was the mayor, I believe, prior to Linda Witt. So just one of those things that you're going to come across. We want to do this. Okay, well, New York State already has laws about how you can spend, I want to say, like Amy talked about on our show, bottling water. Okay, well, if you try to put that in place, you would have to build a bottling facility out of the general fund. Because if you build it out of the water fund, any revenue that it generates, all those expenses come out of the water fund. But yes, all the revenue it generates goes back into the water fund, not the general. So you would have to build it in the general, then buy your water from the water department or the water fund, and then sell the water. And all the profits could go to the general fund. But there's like little things like that. Like, well, why can't we mix and match the funds? Because the state has already said that you cannot do this. And people in other municipalities have gone to jail for ignoring the state's rules on this and then like intermingling funds. And it's one thing to like, oh, hey, we did an audit and you did a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And it's not really appropriate. And you get a slap on the wrist. But if you like blatantly say, well, I don't care what the state says, this is my town, and guess what? You're going to jail, and they've jailed mayors before. So it's not like it's the end of it. Like people don't seem to understand how bad, like what kind of a rabbit hole these things can take you down. But and I don't think that people are going to see the change that they're looking for. But either way, I mean, the mayor's race to us seems like a huge deal. But like I'm saying, it's probably very inconsequential for how the city operates one way or another. I don't think it's going to be an end-all, be-all. It's not the, hey, we're changing our form of government. There is a charter commission going, but I don't believe it's going to drastically change our form of government. And if the Charter Commission doesn't get something together soon, I don't believe they'll be on November's ballot, so it won't be until the following year. So we'll see how that plays out. But with that said, guys, I will see you tomorrow on Life22. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell your friends and family.